Paramahamsa Parivijagacharya Astatara Satsasi Srimada's Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami.
Off to the side here, if you could find your place and space in front of Maharaj, would be much appreciated. Thank you very much. So, on behalf of the Chicago ISKCON New Seva Kunj Temple, I want to warmly welcome everyone to this wonderful and auspicious Vyasa Puja celebration. I especially want to thank all of those who traveled from distant places to celebrate with us today. Thank you very much for coming and expanding the opportunities for service and family exchanges. So what is it exactly that we're celebrating today? Well, the obvious answer is that we are observing the blessed appearance of our beloved spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada Swami. But what is the essence behind that? Well, this is a celebration of reality. The Vedic scriptures repeatedly emphasize that material life is a perverted reflection of spiritual reality. So commemorations and glorifications of individuals on their birthdays, retirements, or recognition of their achievements in one way or another are going on every day in the material world. And these are just perverted the nature of the soul to glorify Krishna, his names, his devotees, and their achievements and activities. And unfortunately, since those events are based on the illusion of the bodily platform, they cannot provide any real benefit to the celebrators or the celebrated. But today's festival is absolutely different. Today we gather appreciation for Sri Prabhupada Swami, who is living in reality, living the lifestyle of the soul. Like Srila Vyasadeva, the namesake of this Vyasa Puja celebration, through his teachings, guidance, and example, he is inspiring and helping others to enter that reality and to escape the pervasive perversion and suffering of this material world. He is providing a taste of spiritual reality and is fueling the progress of so many in the progressive journeys back home that are gathered. Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kavanoi, he, in the form of instructions, lectures, and personal example, is the Bhagavan alarm clock, awakening conditioned souls to their natural, constitutional reality of pure spirituality. So today we celebrate the fantastic, transcendental personality, Srila Prabhupada Swami, and the multiple amazing transcendental gifts he gives so freely. We celebrate him for helping bring us back to reality. Let us wholeheartedly glorify and satisfy him, and therefore glorify and satisfy Krishna. Yasya Prasada, Bhagavan Prasada. By our moods, words, and interactions and activities throughout today's festivities and forever after. Hare Krishna. So now we have His Holiness Prabhupada Swami address the audience. Thank you.
Shri Chaitanya Vishram Sthapitam Vena Bhutale Swayam Bhuta Kadamaya Adati Sakavandekam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gauri Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is a nice opportunity. One dimension of this nice opportunity for me is I get to address things without so much structure. I can say whatever I want. My days. And hopefully some of the messages will stick with you. We're identified by our founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, as followers of Rupa Goswami, or Rupanugas, because we're followers of Lord Chaitanya. And amongst the followers of Lord Chaitanya, the assembly of Lord Chaitanya's followers is an overused word today is awesome, but this is an appropriate word. Awesome assembly of the followers of Lord Chaitanya, one after the next. But amongst them all, Rupa Goswami is most esteemed. He's esteemed for a number of reasons, one of which is he received the fullness of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And what is that? Even one drop of Lord Chaitanya's mercy is enough to drown one in an ocean of ecstasy of love of God. And he received the fullness of the ocean of Lord Chaitanya's unlimited mercy. And Lord Chaitanya confirmed that on 2 occasions. So how did he manifest that? He manifested that both in his prachar, his speech, but also his achar, his character. just a little glimpse of grain of rice in the rice pot. Test it. When Rupa Goswami was writing, it was an outpouring of ecstatic devotion. It was something that he was feeling. And as Rupa Goswami was feeling, all those around him were also feeling. As with our founder Acharya, when he was feeling very happy, sometimes Prabhupada would be in his quarters and tell a Bengali joke. None of us were Bengalis. And we didn't understand the joke. But he would tell the joke in English, and then he would laugh. And when Prabhupada laughed, it was a body laugh. His whole body laughed. And we didn't understand the joke, but because his mood was so light, that everyone in the room felt light and joyous. And then, in the next moment, he could be very stern. And the mood completely changed. And everyone was not wanting to look at anybody. Hide under the rug or something. Because he's guru, he's heavy. So what to speak? Rupa Goswami, fullest recipient of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Inconceivable. It's described when Rupa Goswami was writing, particularly it's described in Bhakti Ratnakar. Some of his writing was done at Kadamba. Kadamba is a kind of tree. And he would sit under a particular Kadamba tree. And when he was writing, specifically describes Lalita Madhava. Lalita Madhava is Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan. So what was Krishna feeling when he was outside of Vrindavan? He was feeling separation from Vrindavan. Not only the residents of Vrindavan were feeling separation from Krishna. He loved his devotees, and he loves the Vrijvasis the most. He was feeling great separation. So as he was writing Lalita Madhava, in the mood of separation, he would cry. And as he would cry, the Kadamba tree under which he was sitting and the other Kadamba trees, they also shed tears of all their leaves. The leaves, the tree was just barren of leaves, crying in separation from Krishna. But then writing further, some arrangement was made for Krishna to meet. And he was radiantly happy. And the tree all of a sudden produced so many leaves and flowers. Just like that. Just made by the presence of Rupa Goswami. In another place in the same book, Bhakti Ratnakar, it describes Rupa Goswami was at Kadamba. It's a very transcendently wonderful place in many ways. One of them is it's midway between where Radharani lived for some part of her life as the so-called wife of the so-called husband of Abhimanyu. And in between, on the other side, is Nandagam. So it's midway, it's a place where Radha and Krishna would meet. And so many nice pastimes. So, Rupa Goswami was with a number of other devotees, and they were relative pastimes of Krishna. And there was a particular pastime of separation. And all the devotees were weeping and weeping. They weren't just, they were experiencing transcendental emotion in one another's company. And Rupa Goswami was trying to contain his emotion, but his fever of separation, the heat of separation was so intense that he was near another devotee, and when he exhaled, his breath hit the body of another devotee, and the body of the other devotee blistered from the heat of Rupa Goswami's feelings. younger brother of Sanatana Goswami, a disciple of Sanatana Goswami. He always checked things with Sanatana Goswami. So many nice descriptions. Sanatana Goswami, sometimes he stayed at Radha Temple. Many people have been to Vrindavan and been to that place. It's one of the landmarks. Tall, you can see it from far distance. It's up on the hill and very, very tall temple. It's red sandstone temple, beautiful temple. But sometimes he was staying at Radhakund, and sometimes he was staying at Manasiganga. So when he was staying at Manasiganga, he was chanting his japa near Manasiganga during a certain season. Because it's right by the water. Lots of mosquitoes. It was difficult for him to chant his japa with so many mosquitoes, so he decided I'm going to leave. But those of you that have visited, right here is Bhajan Kutir. There's a little temple of Lord Shiva. So one sadhu, that very evening when he decided to leave, a sadhu came and said, please don't leave. I'll see that no mosquitoes will bother you. I promise you. He said, all right, I'll stay one night. And if the mosquitoes don't come, then I can stay. And from that day till today, no mosquitoes go to that place. And Sanatana Goswami understood it's not just some sadhu, but it was Lord Shiva who wanted the association of Sanatana Goswami. So he made the arrangement for the mosquitoes to go there. And from that place, Sanatana Goswami used to circumambulate Govardhan Hill. And those that have done circumambulation of Govardhan Hill, you know, it's a nice walk. But by the end of one day, it's good, you know, your feet are ready for a little break, right? But he would circumambulate every day. And when he became over 80 years of age, he continued circumambulating Govardhan. It was very difficult. So Krishna came and told Sanatana Goswami, you don't have to do this anymore, you're too old. He said, no, I've taken a vow. I must do. But Krishna said, I will make one impression of my foot in a Govardhan Shiva and an impression of a cow's hoofprint and my walking cane. And you just circumambulate this stone some number of times, and that's as good as going around the whole of Govardhan. Krishna personally came. Lord Shiva personally came. There's another Bhajan Kutir near Pavan Sarovar. Pavan Sarovar is a Sarovar means lake, and Pavan means purification. One who becomes pure, purified of all anything. The personality of Prayag Raj in person, comes to Pavan Sarovar once a year to take bath, to become free from the reactions of all the sinful activities people deposit in Prayag. It's Pavan Sarovar. Wonderful Leela that Nanda and Gopal experienced. But he was staying by Pavan Sarovar. At that time, he was completely, even today, completely quiet, very removed, and no place, no shade, just like we hear in the prayers of the six Goswamis, the seven Goswami Astakam. They stayed under a different tree every night. He had no shelter. So one day, a little boy, very black in complexion, please take this milk, and when you're finished with the pot, leave it over here, I'll come back later and pick it up. And Sanatana Goswami said, who are you? And he said, I'm a cowherd boy in this village, and all the residents want very much that you have a place to stay because it's so hot in the summer and so cold in the winter. They don't like to see you fasting and exposed to the elements like this. They want to build you a place of residence. But I have to go now, so you drink the milk, and when I come back, I'll pick up the empty pot, clay pot. So, as suddenly as he appeared, he just disappeared. And Sanatana Goswami began drinking the milk, and as he was drinking the milk, he felt ecstasy of Krishna's loving association, and realized it was actually Krishna. And he began crying and weeping in ecstasy of love of God, drinking milk. After some time, the residents of that area, they built a little bhajan kutia for him. And when we sometimes go to Vrindavan, we can visit that place. Very sacred place. But so many other wonderful, intimate exchanges. Sanatana Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis that were intimately following. And Raghunath Das Goswami, who considered himself the worshipper of the dust of the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. When you go to Terkadamba, there's a little altar, little deities, Krishna Balaram deities. Because at that place, Krishna and Balaram, at the end of the day, herding the cows, just before they would go to Nanda Maharaja's residence and put the cows into Goshalas, Krishna would sit at Terkadamba and call all the cows and count them, 900,000 cows. He would count them by groups, and sometimes he would call them by name. They all 900,000 names. You can't remember about the universe. 900,000 names. And if someone missing, he would climb up a kadamba tree and call them by playing on his flute. Sometimes they would hide just to wait to hear Krishna's flute. And their ears would stand erect, drinking in the sound of Krishna's flute, and they'd come running because Krishna wanted them. They were getting an intimate association with Krishna. So above the Krishna Balaram temple, there's a little altar, a little deities, and a little saying by Raghunath Das Goswami, where he's praying lifetime after lifetime for just one thing, a particle of dust from the feet of Rupa Goswami as his worshipable object. That's Raghunath Das Goswami. And the position of Raghunath Das Goswami is such that he was, we read this morning, that nice verse about change of heart. He had a change of heart. He never really had a heart for material existence. And through Lord Chaitanya's association, he completely gave up material existence. He made his residence after Lord Chaitanya left by the side of Radha, and ultimately, by divine arrangement, made the excavation of the same Radha that we see today. The event was very simple. He was by the side of a little lake, chanting his japa. And he was so absorbed in his japa that he didn't even notice that a tiger came right next to him and started drinking water. And Sanatana Goswami saw from a distance that Krishna was watching to make sure, because he's in the heart of the lion, that the lion didn't harm his dear devotee, Raghunath Das Goswami. And when the lion left, Sanatana Goswami approached him and said, "You just had Krishna serve you. You're a Christian servant, and he's standing there watching to make sure that you're okay. Raghunath, please build a hut. Or you can be protected. Krishna won't have to serve you. He said, yes, that's a good idea. So another time, in the heat of the summer, some of our youth have reported to me what it's like visiting Vrindavan in the summer. They said, my gosh, it's like being in an oven. And it's all day long. Even at night, it's like being in an oven. And so it's oven-like. And there's Raghunath Das by the side of Radha chanting japa. So absorbed. He didn't even feel the heat of the sun. And his body was baking. So Srimati Radharani came and extended the upper garment over his head to create shade. So she was catching the sun, and a pool of perspiration was at her feet. From the opposite side, Sanatana Goswami was watching. There's Radharani serving Raghunath Das. Until when the heat of the sun subsided, Radharani turned and she went away. So that Raghunath Das would be okay. And Sanatana Goswami came and scolded him. Now it's Radharani serving you. Please, build a hut. So build a hut. Build a budget. Completely detached from the world. Completely absorbed in thoughts of love of Radha and Krishna, etc. These are the personalities that were followers of the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. And now, coming down to where we are, we're meant to receive their mercy. They want to give their mercy, and our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada wants all of us to receive the fullness of that mercy. And just like a loving father wishes to see that the children, see a few children here, to see that the children are behaving nicely with one another. Parents like to see that. And it's natural that not only they know how to behave with their parents, but they know how to behave with the other children. And anyone that's had that responsibility of caring for children knows it's very important who the children make friendships with. Because we're social beings. On the highest level, we're spirit souls. But even in the spiritual realm, we're social beings. That is to say, with Krishna, it's not us and Krishna and nobody else. It's us and Krishna and unlimited numbers of pure devotees who are happily serving Krishna in loving exchanges. That's the spiritual world. We're social beings because in our purified state, that's our condition. And now we come down here, and we're still social beings. And in this world, worldly people want relationships, and maybe out of frustration they leave aside relationships, but they want relationships. We want relationships because we have needs. That's why we want relationships. So relationships are, in the worldly sense, intended or striving to fulfill needs, but they never fulfill our needs. And so we feel frustrated and we feel so many things. And in this way the world goes round. But from the spiritual position, we want relationships because, in one sense, it's the fulfillment of our nature. As it is our nature to serve Krishna, it's our nature to be in loving relationships with Krishna's loving devotees. It's our in the spiritual world. That's our position. So we want that. And we want that just like the parent wants the children to behave nicely with the other children. It's pleasing to Krishna when he sees that his devotees are being served nicely and there's loving relationships going on amongst the devotees. It's pleasing to our disciplic succession, and it's pleasing to Krishna. And I want to please our disciplic succession, my spiritual master, and Krishna. I want that. And so I want to establish loving relationships with Krishna's devotees, especially. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, it teaches us the same thing. The Madhyama Adhikari, several places discussed, but the Madhyama, the Kanishya Adhikari, that's the lowest stage, there's worship of God in the place of worship, the mosque, the temple, the synagogue, the church. You go to the place of worship and God is there, the house of God. You go there and you worship God, and then you leave, and then I know what it was like when, after I couldn't figure it out. I gave up trying to figure it out. After church is over, the minister's there, saying goodbye to everybody, thanking for coming, asking them, some nice little courtesy, social exchange. They go outside after the church, and it's two different worlds. That's the Kanishya Adhikari, smoking, drinking, talking about whatever the next activity is, completely disconnecting, separation of the church and their life. So God is in the church, and so you're nice in the church. And outside, you're business as usual. Something wrong with that nature. So the Madhyama, and please note that the devotees are being trained, starting from the Madhyama position, where we not just see God is in the place of worship on the altar or in the Holy Scripture or something, but we're taught to make some distinction between God and He's to be worshipped. The devotees with whom we make loving friendships and relationships, the innocent non-devotees, we show compassion to them, and then those who are averse to God, explicit atheists, and gross materialists, averse to God, we avoid their association. We make these distinctions. So going back to the relationships with the devotees, below, this is one of the things that distinguishes a Kanishya or Prakrita, very beginning neophyte, and one who is making progress. They make a distinction. They make friendships with devotees. And then there's three categories of friendships. Those who are advanced, those who are and those who are less advanced. There's different types of relationships. But it's enjoined in Scripture. It's something that Guru and Krishna want. It's something that's part of our constitutional nature. But from the worldly position, we don't have any loving relationships. It's all the other kind. In the name of it's something else. It's I want and we make a business deal, and so we have a relationship until the I want doesn't get fulfilled, and then we break the contract. So it's imperative. It's not optional. It's a must to, along with developing our attraction for Krishna, is to develop loving relationships with Krishna's devotees. Which is more difficult? They're both more difficult. Because we're conditioned. And we don't see God properly, we don't see the devotees properly. Although we want relationships with God, we want loving relationships with devotees. It requires purity. That's one of the things that one finds out to get either one, or to restore either one. It's something inside that needs to become pure. We require purity. Because as long as there is some I'll use the word expectation. Somehow I forget exactly how it came along. Charles Dickens in this novel, Great Expectations. I don't know what the plot and storyline is, but the title is, it's the material position. People want something because they have an expectation. So what's the relationship when we don't have an expectation? It's a loving relationship. What's that? Doing something without an expectation. It takes this, from the morning class, it takes a change of heart. It takes a change, a whole new paradigm, a whole new perspective on life, on oneself, and the purpose of life. And the purpose of relationship is not to get something, it's not some expectation. But it's, for the other reasons mentioned, it's enjoying the scriptures, it's part of our constitutional nature, it's our position of actual happiness. It's in our real self-interest. It's to not have that takes purity. So it must be to accomplish that to whatever degree we can accomplish it. It takes purity. It takes striving to make the heart pure for the right purpose. Because striving to make the heart pure, then one of the next beasts that appear is pride. Just see how I become pure. Just see how please notice how I become successful in Christian consciousness. And even if we don't so blatantly broadcast like that, the contamination of heart, it's insidious. The fruitive tendency is so strong that even on the spiritual path, when we're trying to be this nice, sincere little humble devotee, and pride enters the heart. Boy, it just can't get away from it. Insidious, material nature. Become free from pride, just like the quality that one of the qualities that we read was free from pride. And strive for that purity and beware of that tendency and continue forward with trying to establish where something that's pleasing to Guru and Krishna, establish loving reality, it's pleasing to the heart. It's our nature. One of the things that happens in Vaishnava Sangha, especially when you start becoming closer and closer, you start to see more clearly in the language of Lord Chaitanya, qualities and faults, just like those of you that are married. Before you were married, you didn't know the other party. Then you got married, and then you found out what their qualities and faults are, because you live together. Or just like what we're doing, because many devotees are coming from different places. And you spend some time, you invite somebody in your home, you see their qualities and faults, and they see your qualities and faults. And now what happens? You become judgmental. Tendency is to do like that. So we want to keep relationships at a distance. Don't get too close. And then we can have a loving relationship. Because you get close, then you're going to see my faults. And I'm going to see your faults. And we'll start with the mind at least going yada yada yada, yada yada yada. And then there's no relationship breaks down. So a loving relationship is where there's not judgments. Even because you're close to a person, you know what their strengths and weaknesses are. You know their shortcomings, and that's okay. I mean, it's okay in the sense that you want, because you care about the person, on the soul platform especially, that they're carrying attraction to Krishna's striving to become Krishna. Let me appreciate the person for that, and then, according to my capacity, ability, and position, and so forth, in what way can I be of service to this person so they can take a little doable step toward Krishna? Even if you don't know what to do, if that's the mood, it fosters a loving relationship, and it checks you from the poison of judgmentalism, and it poisons the possibility of a relationship. So that's something we all need to learn in order to have loving relationships, to get close to other people and feel love for them, while still knowing at the same time you have less than perfect state of consciousness and being, whatever they're carrying with them from their previous association. There's a natural quality that, as one becomes a little spiritually advanced, there's compassion. And compassion doesn't mean I'm up here and you're down there and I feel sorry for you. Let me show you a little kindness because I'm merciful. Compassion means you feel the pain of another person. You feel empathy. You feel the feelings of another person. There's a nice verse in the 80th chapter of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam that exactly describes this, where one feels the feelings of another person. Now, you can't exactly feel the feelings of another person because you're not the other person, but because you had something similar, you see another person going through something, you can feel their pain. It's empathy. Narada discusses this, or considers this with Nala Kubera and Manigriva, and he considers it best for them to be deprived of their wealth as the sons of Kubera. And in that deprived condition, they'll feel the prick of thorns. And so when they see somebody else being pricked by thorns, they'll feel their pain. Because now they're not feeling, they're proud. They're puffed up and proud of their opulence. We're the sons of Kubera. And so they can be mean-spirited from that pride and do any hurtful thing to others and not think a thing about it. No empathy. So not just being deprived of something, then you can be empathetic. And when that's over, you forget it. It's a quality, it's a spiritual quality. There's a material reflection of the real thing, and then there's the real thing. The real thing is a spiritual quality. One feels compassion for another person's situation. And the compassion doesn't mean just because they're suffering. There's plenty of suffering you can feel compassion about in this world. But you can also feel the joy of another person's making some progress in Krishna consciousness and feel joyful because of that. Krishna is now pleased more because someone has made some nice advance. They can do some service very nicely. How nice. But that's not in the material world is envy. Just like the purport that we read this morning. In this world, just without love for Krishna, there's enviousness. Anyone that does well, I want to see them come down. It's not. The spiritual position is the opposite. And so, how do we exercise that compassion in the association of other devotees? There's those who are advanced, those that are peers, those that are less advanced, and we try to lovingly extend ourselves, not just compassion. We have nice relationships with those that are less advanced because we're compassionate. And as far as people more advanced, well, we can't be compassionate because they're more advanced, so we just don't have any relationship with peers. Masamis. Come see, comes up. It's not actively, positively, proactively. We should cultivate in a loving manner. I have many other things to say. I'm looking at the clock and I'm going to stop a little bit, not so abruptly, but my thought is this is the beginning part of the new year, and a big part of this year I see is going to be dedicated to focusing on loving relationships amongst the devotees. We had a seminar like that in Gita on loving relationships amongst the devotees. And that was very nice. But there's this tendency, in 1 year stays for a while and out the other year. So it's a good sign. I'm not kind of bad about it. It's a good sign that when there's nothing, then they don't have any problem with relationships because there's no person to have relationships with. And then when things start to grow, and we calcify a little bit, we become a little set in our ways and mechanical and so forth, then we start to have relationship problems, or the spiritual need on the positive side for deepening and strengthening those relationships. So this is kind of a get ready for it this year. I'm going to be spending a fair amount of time in different places on this topic, because I feel it's very important. It's an important part of our growth in Krishna consciousness, awakening our loving relationship with Krishna. And key, essential to that growth is dedication to the process of hearing and chanting, the process of Shuddha Bhakti, and centering our activities around with one another, our exchanges with one another on hearing and chanting topics about Krishna. Not just hearing and chanting about, what did it at home, what's the latest, but hearing and chanting about our message of Krishna consciousness. Sharing our realizations. Guhyamakyati Krishati. Whoever registered for this event, I'm going to make available a nice little saying that came from the wall of Bhakti Tirtha Swami's quarters in Vijayanagari. It's just 4 lines. It's not from scripture, it's just the scripture of common sense or loving relationships. It is describing what a real friend is. But you find the chapter and verse in Scripture to support each of the things. A real friend is one who knows who you are, they accept you for who you are, they know your struggles and tribulations, at the same time they help you to make a little step of growth. So something like that. That's not it exactly, but it's close. I'll make it available, and hopefully we collectively can enter into that mood. That becomes possible to the extent, to the degree that we're Krishna conscious. It's not just by developing that, and it's going to be anything more than like I did class this morning, except within your mind, oh, that's very nice. But it won't endure. It'll leak like a bucket of holes. You fill it up with water and it leaks out and it's filled with holes. The mind won't hold that. The heart has to hold that. The spiritual conceptions specific to our purpose of Krishna consciousness is to please Krishna and our relationship with Krishna and our relationship with others who are having a relationship with Krishna. Understanding Krishna consciousness. There are primary persons in our spiritual lives, like the spiritual master, or those with whom we closely associate on a regular basis, those that are helping to encourage us and guide steps that we may be burdened, we were foolish, and continue on the path to Krishna. But there's other relationships, and those other relationships that may not be the primary relationships, they're important relationships too. Because we're very, you see, a large society of devotees. And the numbers are growing, and as the numbers grow, it's easy to understand. There's new people coming that haven't had the purification, and they need to be accepting. And those of us who have been practicing for some time, something may come out, and we need that the well wishes of the assembly of devotees. It's important for our spiritual advancement, and it's important for the progress of the Hare Krishna movement in our immediate sangha and beyond our immediate sangha, those that we're not in contact with, devotees that are other places of the world. Three remaining points, looking at my notes, just to try to capture things. We need to spiritualize or bring in the spiritual conception of our life's purpose and our own identity, and when we do things, to do things for the right reason, that requires lots of careful hearing and purification of heart so that the message gets in. And we're working with that conception. We continue to strive to work with that conception, not just something that resonates and then it leaks out again. From the heart level. And practice, cultivate your devotional service from that position as far as you can. Continue to cultivate like that. The service and the interactions that we have with one another, it's service. Now, we're not the enjoyer, we're the servant. And serve genuinely. And when you do like that, loving relationships become easier and easier and easier. And when the enjoyer spirit enters, it spoils everything. The relationship becomes like eating sweet rice with salmon in it. You can't. It's unpalatable. From that beginning, the third point, from that beginning of service, the science of rasa says, when service increases in intimacy, like, the chauffeur serves the guy who's in the back of his limousine, or the servant in the house serves the people who are owning the house. But through the course of that service relationship, then some intimacy, the formality diminishes, and the intimacy enters, and then it becomes friendship. Dasiras becomes Sakyaras. The loving relationships is, we start with service, but when that intimacy increases, it means we'll come to understand the shortcomings and weaknesses and faults of the other party. And in that intimacy, it's okay that we continue to be servants, to accept the person and for all of what they're made up of at the present time, see that they're moving and striving, trying to move, and then they give some service to assist them in that intimacy of being. These are just some thoughts I think will expand some more as the year goes on. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki
So for the next part of the celebration today, we're going to have Jumuna Jiva Prabhu present Maharaj with the 2011 Vyasa Puja book. We'd like you to open it for us. Read your affirmation of that process.
My dear and most respected spiritual master and eternal Father, please accept my most humble and respectful obeisances in the dust of your most merciful lotus feet. All glories to you, Sri God. The mercy of the true devotee is inconceivable and unfathomable. As Krishna is Swarat, fully independent, and is possessed of Achintya Shakti, so also are you, Srila Prabhupada, his empowered representative. This is the mystical fruit of empowerment through Krishna's descending mercy. You are uniquely empowered, Srila Prabhupada, the Shakti Vaisha Avatar. You've been empowered by Krishna to an unprecedented degree, empowered to manifest bhakti in the hearts of the whole world, simply by the recipient willfully accepting and acting upon your descending mercy. Following the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the order of your Guru Maharaj, you sacrificed everything to receive everything. And then compassionately continued to give the same fullness of Krishna's mercy to all, in the form of His holy name, imbued with Draja Prema. Kali Kalira Dharma Krishna Nam Sankirtan Krishna Shakti Vina Namitara Pravartana. The fundamental religious system of the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. Taha pravartayana tuni eta premana Krishna Shakti karatuni ite nani ana. Translation. You have spread the Sankirtan movement of Krishna consciousness. Therefore it is evident that you have been empowered by Lord Krishna. There is no question about it. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chapter 7. Flowing from inexorable compassion, you liberally distributed your empowerment to all who would receive it. You even detailed the process of how to best receive it. Here is one example from Morning Walk, Srila Prabhupada in San Francisco, 1968. Practically everything depends on practice. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasanadhyana abhyasa yoga. Abhyasa yoga means yoga practice. Practice it. This whole Krishna consciousness movement is to practice transferring from one kind of consciousness to another. So, we require practice. Just like one man can run a few miles, I cannot even run 1 mile. He has practiced. We see some boys, they run on, they practice it. Strength of the heart, increasing by practice. And if I run, my heart will be palpitating because I have no practice. Practice, everything can be attained. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Determination. So our method is to pray to Krishna, to give us the necessary strength, that's all. Otherwise, by regular practice. This age is very difficult, unfavorable. First thing, his memory is very short. We cannot remember. Life is very short. Life is short, at the same time so much disturbed by anxiety, by disease, by natural disturbances. Roga shokadidi. Short life that is also disturbed by disease and meditation. Every moment there is something for which you have to lament. Oh! Roga shokadidi. And disease. This body is a breeding ground of all kinds of disease. Life is short. So much disturbed. So how is it possible to practice? Therefore, this one practice, chanting Hare Krishna, and hearing, that is very nice. And praying to Krishna, please give me the strength. Hare, O energy of Krishna. O Krishna, I am common, I have no strength. Please accept me. That's all. I have no qualification. I am frail. I am trying. But I am failing. All these appeals should be made. And Krishna is all-powerful. He can do anything. Even we. We do not perform, trying our best. If we fail, Krishna will help us. Just like a child tries his best but he falls down. The mother takes up and, all right, come on, walk. Like that. Yes? Merely existing, that's the end of Prabhupada's morning walk notes, and I'm writing again. Merely existing in Kali Yuga places all of us in an atmosphere oppressively replete with strife to charge of opposition to any effort towards progressive spiritual life. Kali Yuga is but an ocean of faults. Merely finding fault is something any teenager anywhere in the world can do effortlessly and abundantly. But who is that rare soul in this age who can administer the remedy for those abundant faults? You, Srila Prabhupada, have given us that remedy, and with it, your mercy to cross to the other side of this ocean of faults. My heart is filled with gratitude and recognition of your inconceivable kindness and purity. The fruit of your mercy creature manifested as multitudes of happy devotees worldwide, and the number continues to increase. You wrote in your Bhakti-Vedanta purports, a pure devotee of the Lord, being cognizant of the fact that the particular time, object, and circumstance always desires to expand the number of devotees of the Lord in various ways. From the same compassionate heart, you created a wonderful structure to extend care and well-being to your society of burgeoning numbers of devotees. Brilliantly, your vision of this structure included the very means of extending all spiritual required care for preserving and furthering the spiritual progress for all those accepted your preaching plans. In my service to you and your devotees, one of the most exciting and important endeavors I find myself engaged in is both the global and local efforts of ensuring a secure, long-lasting future surviving the wearing test of time for the very ISKCON that we wish it to be. Just as innovative as you were in your intense desire to give the seed of bhakti to all souls, then in turn to see that the bhakti creeper, when received, was effectively nurtured, you also innovatively expanded your system for maintaining the standards of pure devotional service on all levels. Your UDCs have committed to work on this important project, which is intended to leave behind us a well-thought-out structure for preserving and protecting for posterity the International Society of Devotees of Krishna, which you so munificently bestowed upon the world. Our duty is to carefully preserve, protect, and expand what you have given us. Collectively, your DVCs are warmly embracing this obligation. We sincerely pray to you for all requisite empowerment and strength to accomplish this task to your full satisfaction and approval. Personally, as one of your DVC's own secretaries, I take this service very seriously. That you remain fully and unconditionally engaged in your sacred service, now and forevermore. Kindly bless me by fulfilling this one request. May I always remain humbly engaged in your personal service eternally. Your humble servant, Lord Father Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
We would now like to ask Maharaj's Gapas to say a few words. His Holiness Generally Maharaj.
Om Mangya Tivanandasya Tivanandasya Samarapana Chaksu Vividhamyenatas Manshri Vividhamah Sri Chaitanya Vilopistam Stapitam in Bhutale Swayam Bhuta Brahmayam Vedati Swami Vedati Mahom Vishnu Krishna Krishna Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Vedanta Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharya Shreya Sudyamari Pastyatya Krishnaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. His Holiness Gopal Maharaj ki jai. So I'm very happy to be here. It's actually my first time I've been at the honoring of His Holiness Prabhupada Maharaj after so many years of associating with and knowing Maharaj. I think our relationship goes back to at least 1995 when I first came here to Chicago, and even before that. But I was very inspired, extremely inspired to hear Maharaj speak today. He spoke on such an important subject, important in so many ways, internally as our own spiritual development, and externally as a society that is trying to bring, what we say, spiritual principles and happiness people in the world. He spoke of compassion. This compassion is really the heart of bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada says something about compassion from another angle. He correlates and connects compassion with nonviolence. We know sometimes we can't see what is the connection between nonviolence and compassion. When in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada gives a definition of nonviolence that if it wasn't described as nonviolence, you would think it would be compassion. And in that he says that people in the world are suffering. And they're not suffering so much because of lack of material things, arrangements, or everything is available. Generally, we might say, for the majority of the population. But people are suffering because of lack of Krishna consciousness. And therefore, that kind of suffering is a need. It's a need for a person. And Prabhupada explains that non-violence means to relieve a person's suffering. It's more like an active principle in a positive way rather than restricting an active principle because of what might negatively occur. We might say we won't do violence on someone because it's, of course, it's harmful to the person. But Prabhupada says when you see someone suffering, and what is that suffering? Everyone is looking for, as Maharaj so nicely explained in a very detailed way, the essence of life is relationships. It's only as Radha Maharaj gave a nice example, simple example, but a nice one, to illustrate how relationships are the ultimate principle of life. And it's actually life itself. In that sense, where if you have everything, the example he uses, if you have all the money in the world, and then you have all the possessions in the world, but you're the only person in the world, would you be happy? The conclusion, the natural conclusion is you want to share with someone, and that brings about the happiness of having such things. But without that relationship, all these other things have no value. In fact, they're just botherations. In real sense of the word. So relationship is the essence of life. And what is that relationship? As Maharaj so nicely explains, our relationships are based on spiritual principles, on loving relationships that are connected ultimately to our relationship with Krishna, devotion. So as we develop that loving relation with Krishna and devotion, we also develop that loving relationship with others who are parts and parcels of Krishna. Because now, actually that relationship is based on knowledge. And knowledge, the conclusion of knowledge is that love or that relationship is extended to Krishna as it develops and naturally extends out to everyone else. And as Maharaj explained the difference between a neophyte devotee, who someone's concerned only with worshiping the Lord and very much concerned with his own or her own spiritual progress, as opposed to one who has developed that relationship with the Lord in a real way, sees that that relationship with the Lord is glorified or enhanced and what we say acted on by serving those who are connected to the Lord. That is everyone. And Maharaj made the point that with devotees, it's a loving relationship with friends, and with others, it's a compassionate relationship bringing Krishna consciousness to others. So Prabhupada's definition of non-violence is that if we don't, this is a strong statement, if we don't actually try to help people who are suffering, we're simply contributing to their violence in their life. It's like it puts you on the spot. And if I see someone who if I can do something in one way or another to relieve a person's ignorance and help them develop a relationship with Krishna, and I don't act on it, I'm simply contributing to that person's misery or suffering. Pretty powerful statement. I especially like what Maharaj said about his emphasis in the upcoming year about developing and talking about the loving relationships that need to be developed in our society. And, we hear so much about, and it's true, the glories of the Holy Name. The glories of the Holy Name are exalted throughout Scripture. There are so many verses and so much emphasis on glorification of the name, and the importance of chanting the name. The results of chanting the name, and how the name ultimately is everything in the practice of Krishna consciousness. But, it's interesting that without developing loving relationships with other devotees, we really can't chant the name. Because we might say, the name is important. It is. But if we don't really have that communal spirit, or that spirit of serving others, how are we going to approach Krishna in his own name? So we might say, what's more important? Holy name or loving relationships? I don't think you can separate them. I actually don't think you can separate them. And Lord Chaitanya didn't. In fact, that of all his activities that he propagated while he was here, he emphasized two things. We might say there's 5 activities that make up the process of bhakti. Chanting the holy names, associating with devotees, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, living in a holy place, and worshiping the Lord in his transcendental form as a deity. And Lord Chaitanya emphasized 2 of these, and that was loving relationships between Vaishnavas and chanting the holy names. Out of those 5, he emphasized these 2. Just to teach us and also to illustrate what is the essence of the process of bhakti. As these become more foundational in our practice of spiritual life, and then we find that happiness we're looking through within the process of Krishna consciousness. We're also very happy to hear Maharaj mention the 4 principles that Srila Bhakti Swami Maharaj emphasized. And it's one of my meditations, at least I try to read it and remember as much as possible. It's actually the essence of community. What is the mood of developing a spiritual community? These 4 things. And I think Maharaj will maybe, as he gives it to you, maybe explain more about that. But on a personal level, I've always seen His Holiness Prabhupada Maharaj give himself entirely to Srila Prabhupada's mission, in whatever he's doing. Whether he's managing on the GBC, or whether he's with the devotees, traveling, preaching. You might say he's tireless in his determination to please Srila Prabhupada by preaching and inspiring devotees. And he's always available, although he's so absorbed in so many things. I'm sure if you ask him, he doesn't have any free time. There's only so many things he's doing and he wants to do, both as an obligation and his own expression for Srila Prabhupada. But still, he always has time for devotees. Always has time for devotees. And that's important. And from a philosophical point of view, it's actually more important to take time to care for devotees than it is to give a great lecture on some philosophical point. And that was illustrated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, where he used the word platform speaker. He said it's more important to do individual care and I'm not exactly sure the words he uses, but take time on an individual level to be with and to care for the devotees. He said that is more effective in bringing Krishna consciousness than just simply giving a talk. We give talks, that's important. That's the practice. But when people become very much, what we say, the heart opens up when personal care is given. And I've always seen that with His Prabhupada Maharaj, all his relationships with his disciples, and also with his goddaughters. I want to thank Maharaj for creating such a wonderful congregation here. And many of you are from other places. The Chicago congregation, especially the youth, is really extraordinary. How they've developed so nicely and developing many, many inspirational qualities in their practice of Krishna consciousness. And this is because of Maharaj's concern on how to use those persons in the community to develop the community. And we see how nicely this community has developed. The kids here, at least the teenagers, the young adults, we might say, are developing real good Krishna consciousness qualities. And I'm inspired by that. And I think many of them are inspiring their parents also to become Krishna conscious. I think some of the parents, they also say that if you get the children to become Krishna conscious, then the parents also follow. It works that way. So it's here, and it has such great potency, and it's developing nicely. And I know there's plans for more and more activities within the congregation to bring it out more and more. And I know there are other speakers, but I want to say the last thing, it's not something that is very profound. In fact, it's very incidental, but Maharaj has a wonderful sense of humor. In fact, he says me so many interesting, humorous things that are very Krishna conscious. And I read them over and over again. I actually keep a file. And when things get long, sometimes I go read my file. So he has a wonderful sense of humor. He doesn't always show it, but it's there. Thank you, Maharaj, for that on a personal level. And that's an inspiration for me, amongst many of your other ways. Showing your care for me in so many ways. And I thank you very much, and I'm also very happy to be here for this wonderful sermon. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, General. I'd like to have Chaitanya Prabhu speak next.
We didn't prepare anything this year.
You're pretty spontaneous.
Never lived. Always, it's just something to reflect on. And just observing how things are flourishing here. I've been up to the neighborhood temple several times. And there's a lot of faces here that haven't been here a few years ago. It's just like becoming more like a Midwest club, I guess. You know, people are showing up more and more. They're really reaching out to a lot of people. Is it going to be here next year too, Maharaj?
I'll consult my meeting and let you know.
I asked you one time what to expect from me be a lot of commotion. Commotion. So, thanks for being here and helping us move on. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and thank you for being one of the pillars that this building was built around the same time as the God building one here, by the same folks, the Masons, Freemasons. And this building is in the shape that it's in because one of the pillars is seated right over here. Thank you. And the other one is falling. It hasn't received the Gitandria care that this building does, and we're all indebted quietly. So many things he does just to keep the place that we conduct our worship and honor Prashada and have our kirtans. And I don't know, how many people are living here?
8.
No, but while we're having this event?
About 35 to 40.
35 to 40. Hope you have a nice stay while you're here, and you can say your thanks to Jitendra for helping David have a nice stay while you're here.
One thing is, they don't like you, they call you a control freak. If they do like you, it's quality control.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jitendra Guru. For our next speaker, we're going to have His Grace Gopal Bhattacharya call in. So please bear with us while the technical details are arranged.
Very grateful for the opportunity to call in and
This is live.
No, it's recorded.
Oh, okay.
This one's live? Oh, this one's going to be live.
Okay. Like a movie. Hi, Gopal. Hi, Krishna Gopal.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. It's fine. Yes, we can hear you. But it's not there. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, my note to Prabhupada and all. They feel very honored about Maharaj. I think some of you know that I do, which is largely courtesy. And one of my mind about Maharaj is that he's an ideal person. We have a great need in our, and if we had to be the dysfunctioning being symbolism, we would have a very much, he's the person that I've activity and unseen. And there's shoes and problems. He's got clarity and expression that also has size. He's very truthful.
Beautiful.
And more than beautiful. Totally beautiful.
He said beautiful.
I've never seen Steve. I've never seen sail forward, pushing the constant. And I think that's part of it, that he is never failing. It's just because his unalloyed commitment is the sure of call. He's willing to fight and sacrifice everything. He sacrificed health. He sacrificed mind. He sacrificed his intelligence. At the end of it, he gave his heart to the cross. And I'll be back with 100% at the end. What we goes into leaving the sure cross. And then beyond all the work, because so much disciples, and I know that to strike, to act, speak. And how we does it all, many members wishing to criticize, but they also very much, but they don't fight to see duties that are thousands of just perfectly all of his disciples, and all of the leadership and balance that I regard, and so many somewhat of even and he's a person that it's an awful lot for me to look up, for me to act and serve, quality of down observation. And at the end, he marked people that I hold in regard, and that I keep them daily to everything I serve in. So, anyway, he happened with somewhere in the years old. How old are you?
I'm not that old.
So maybe you were 51, 50. And at the moment, or this world, later place, in this world, better place. And I just had more guidance. But Lord, have you in our lives. So, thanks very much. I'll need words. I call and heart Lord, you
Just disconnect and let him know. Speak to him. Pull, disconnect it and speak to him. Pull the plug and say heart hold. He's gone. Okay. Not so good, technology-wise. 40%, 50%. Who's an MC?
Next we'll have His Grace Nityananda Prabhu read and offer Tabar Prabhu. Tabar Prabhu is the current chairman of the International GDC
He and his wife are Srila Prabhupada disciples. They're actually formerly from the area.
He's not the current chairman.
Not the current chairman?
No, he's in the executive committee.
Correction. And they're formerly from the area. He was a faculty member at North Illinois University at DeKalb, now living in Alachua. Giving a Grihastha seminar in Dallas today, but took time out to write a wonderful loving offering to Maharaj.
To His Holiness Ramapad Swami and his disciples, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I have had the great privilege to know and work with Ramapad Maharaj for a number of years. I began working with his disciples and some projects at the Chicago temple some years ago. Later, as I began service with the GBC, Maharaj served as an inspiration and mentor as I found my way in this challenging service. We often see strong spiritual leaders who are not as adept at management, or good managers who lack spiritual depth and strong practice. What has always impressed me has been Maharaj's unique ability to exhibit both qualities to an exemplary level. It is recognized throughout ISKCON that Ramapad Maharaj has served as one of the most capable, dedicated and gifted leaders and managers within ISKCON. At the same time, he is a very strong preacher of Krishna consciousness, fixed in the philosophy, deeply learned in Srila Prabhupada's books, and always ready to take on another preaching engagement after a full day's work of managing and guiding our ISKCON society. On another note, there is a personal quality of Ramapad Swami that I would like to highlight. Several years ago, I began working with him to assist devotees and some of his disciples in a counseling capacity. I immediately noted his deep care and concern for every disciple. He reflected deeply on their situations and went to great lengths to help each devotee. Those who only casually know Maharaj may not always see this quality, but I have learned and experienced the deep love and care he feels for the devotees and the amount of tireless help he has given. As such, he exhibits this critically important characteristic of a true spiritual master, one who completely accepts the burden of the spiritual care of those entrusted to him. To those disciples who are celebrating this Vyasa Puja day, I pray that you all deeply reflect on the
Well, I am very grateful for the opportunity to call in and offer some appreciation for Ramapad Swami. He is, as is the tradition of Vaishnava, a very humble person, and he does not like to be glorified. So I hope you haven't tied on to the Vyasa wherever he is. He's not playing with this kind of thing. So I'm very happy to have the opportunity. They say in America that talk is cheap, and we have people talking about over-us Leela, absorbed in bhajan and higher things, in the Vrindavan mood. Fine, I respect and appreciate all this, but the real test of someone's love of Krishna is their dedication. I mean, talk is cheap, but the real thing is their dedication to their not only is that the means of attaining perfection, but it is also the indication. Someone who has deep devotion to their spiritual master is a sign of someone who has deep love for Krishna. Like Prabhupada said, love me, love my dog. Proof. And what is it? Swami, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Again, talk is cheap. What is the proof that the disciple has have deep devotion to the Guru, deep surrender. It's how he helps carry out the order, the instruction of the spiritual master. That's the real proof. They say that you test, Chinese says you test gold by rubbing, so you can test the wife in poverty, a friend in adversity, and a servant in the execution of his duty. So how the disciple is devoted, selflessly, surrendered, sacrificed to executing the order of the spiritual master, that is the symptom of someone who actually has deep realization and deep love for Krishna. And using that as the measure, that is the appropriate measure, that Ramapada Swami excelled in that department. The disciples, see him in a particular relationship, just like a person is seen by the husband or wife in one way, the children in another way, the business associates in another way, the parents in another way. According to the relationship, they're seen in the way. I had the good fortune of seeing Ramapada Maharaj active on the GPC level. And I can tell you, he is deeply trusted, deeply respected by all of the GPC members. When we have a difficult issue, when we have something that requires nuance, when we need to send someone who's really going to be able to be up to the test and get the job done and understand the nuances of the situation, we call on Ramapada Swami. Just look at China. I won't take up time in the details, but it's a very complex and difficult situation, and it was at a really rocky spot. And so, who did the GBC call on? They called on Ramapada Swami, who's done wonders there in restoring the faith of devotees and bringing them into the fold of ISKCON and warding off philosophical challenges and speculations. He's just done a fantastic job. I also served with Ramapada Swami on the North American GPC Executive Committee, and it's the same story. Gopal Bhatta Prabhu, who I think has 2,000 employees, I forget how many franchises. So obviously he's a very successful and competent organizer and executive. And he says that one of the things, there's many things, but one of the things he appreciates about Ramapada Swami is his clean, clear intelligence. Those exact words of Gopal Bhatta, who also has very deep intelligence. He said he turns to Ramapada Swami when there's an issue, complicated, someone who has different opinions. Ramapada Swami will speak with very clear, clean intelligence. He is a very logical, reasonable, intelligent way to move forward. So we are very fortunate to have the I'm just thinking of Srila Prabhupada and devotees, and how Prabhupada must be so pleased to have such a nice, dedicated, intelligent, senior disciple to carry on his mission. And we're all very fortunate because we have someone who helps sustain his son and give us shelter. So there it is, a few thoughts on Ramapada Swami. He's very serious. He's a no-nonsense person. But another feature of Ramapada Swami, I'm sure that you've seen it also, is he's very jolly. He's a very nice sense of humor. Prabhupada said devotee means jolly. The fruit, what is the problem with the personality? That's what you say in the United States. Someone who's actually realized Krishna. He's a very happy person. So Ramapada Swami, in spite of, just sitting to these depositions for the Long Island case, I don't know if anyone's ever been to that kind of thing, but it's just grueling. It is a grueling experience. And Ramapada Swami, I talked to him a couple of times after the calls, and he was, no doubt he wasn't just a cakewalk, but he was quite jolly, quite blissful, although very relieved when it was over. So he has all the symptoms of a very advanced devotee and servant of Krishna. I was also thinking that you're very fortunate, his disciples, that you have someone I can with full confidence, and there are people that I don't recommend, frankly. But you can have full confidence that if you just serve Ramapada Swami, you take an initiation from him, that if you just follow his good advice, you just follow his instruction, he may tell you sometimes to do something you don't want to do. Well, your mind has given you so much advice, your intelligence, so-called intelligence, and where has it got you? deep in the bottom of the barrel of Kali Yuga. So why not just, you can have full faith that Prabhupada's not going to cheat you, he's not going to guide you, he's going to set a very nice personal example of someone who surrendered to Krishna, surrendered to spiritual master. So you can be just very peaceful, not on autopilot, because we're meant to use our intelligence. But you can have full confidence that you have found, just like Srila Prabhupada would say about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that he just felt full confidence. He just followed the orders of his Guru Maharaj. So if you just follow the example and the instructions of Prabhupada Swami, you will make rapid advancement and go back home, back to God. And that is, after all, the name of the game. All right, thank you for giving me this opportunity for glorifying Prabhupada Swami. All right.
That was a paid political announcement.
For the next portion of the program, we will be hearing from the Vyasa Puja book. The first event here is to read the meaning of the Vyasa Puja essay, and that will be by Ananda Vrindavan Mataji.
If our MC can get people ready, because it will save a lot of time and our schedule is tight.
Yes, the next will be that disciple offering read by Sampan Prabhu.
Get like a lineup of a few. Sure. Just for conserving time.
Okay. This meaning of Vyasa Puja essay is on page 20, by the way. Sampan Prabhu will be next. Shri Radhika Mataji will be after that.
They don't have a book to fit that.
Okay. And then